Two men walk into a room, same age, both 48. One moves like he's 38, the other moves like he's 60. Same birthday, two completely different bodies. And the strange part? Neither of them knows which one he is, because the body doesn't send you a bill when it starts aging too fast. There's no alarm, no date on the calendar. It happens quietly, in small signals you've been trained to ignore. An ache you blame on a bad mattress, a dip in energy you blame on a long week, a night of broken sleep you blame on stress. You explain each one away. Meanwhile, underneath, your body is waving a red flag you were never taught to read. And here's why that matters more than looking a little softer in photos. Your real biological age, the one written in your cells, not on your license, can run a decade ahead of the calendar. That gap isn't just cosmetic. It's the difference between the man who's still strong and sharp at 65 and the man whose decline quietly became permanent because nobody told him it was happening while he still had time to stop it. That's the part most men miss. These early signs aren't a verdict. They're a threshold. Catch them today, and almost all of this is reversible. Ignore them, and aging fast slowly hardens into aged. So I'm going to give you 5 signs. 5 things you can check on yourself right now, sitting where you are. No lab, no blood test, no appointment. Some take 10 seconds. And if a few of them sound familiar, don't panic. It means your body's been trying to tell you something. And today you finally get to hear it while it still counts. Here's the first one, and it's the one most men fail without realizing. Sign number 1. Your grip has quietly gotten weaker. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but stay with me, because it's one of the most studied markers in all of aging research. The strength in your hands is a stand-in for the strength in your whole body. And researchers have found something remarkable. When they measured people's grip strength against their biological age, using those DNA-based aging clocks, weaker grip lined up with a body that was aging faster at the molecular level, not just weaker hands, a faster clock. Think about why that makes sense. Grip reflects your total muscle, and muscle is the first thing the body starts surrendering as it ages badly. A process called sarcopenia that quietly begins in your 40s and speeds up from there. Lose the muscle, and you lose the engine that burns your sugar, protects your joints, and keeps you independent. Your hands are just the dashboard gauge that's easiest to read. Here's your 10-second test. Open a jar that used to be easy. Carry all the grocery bags in one trip, and notice if your fingers give out before your legs do. Or just pay attention next time you shake a younger man's hand. You'll feel it, a softness that wasn't there at 35. If it's there, don't spiral. Grip is one of the most reversible signs on this entire list. Men in their 70s, even their 90s, have rebuilt real strength with resistance training. Your body never stops responding to a demand. It just stops volunteering. Quick win, start carrying heavy things again. Loaded carries, a heavy bag in each hand, walked across the yard. Rebuild grip and full body strength faster than almost anything. And you don't need a gym, so that's the gauge on the outside. The next sign hides deeper, and it's the one that quietly raises your risk of dying earlier more than almost any other. Sign number 2, you're out of breath from things that didn't used to wind you. A flight of stairs, carrying a suitcase up to the gate, playing with your kids in the yard for 10 minutes. If you're breathing hard from efforts that used to be nothing, your body is telling you about a number called VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen your body can actually use. And this one isn't a vanity stat. It's one of the single strongest predictors of how long you'll live that science has ever found. Here's how serious it is. In long-term research following thousands of men, those with low fitness had up to a 5-fold higher risk of dying over the following years compared to the fittest, a gap researchers put in the same conversation as smoking and heart disease. VO2 max naturally falls about 5 to 10% per decade after your 30s. But naturally is doing a lot of work in that sentence, because how fast it falls is mostly in your hands, not your genes. Your breathing system is like the engine in an old car. Drive it regularly and it stays responsive for decades. Let it sit in the garage, and the day you finally need to floor it, it sputters. Most men have been letting the engine sit. Here's your test. Find a hill or a few flights of stairs. Climb at a steady, brisk pace. At the top, can you hold a conversation or are you bent over, hands on knees, gasping? And here's the telling part. How fast does your breathing come back to normal? A body aging well recovers in a minute or two. A body aging fast stays winded far longer. The good news mirrors the bad. This is one of the most trainable numbers in your entire body, at any age. Studies show men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s raising it with consistent effort. Quick win. Once or twice a week, push hard enough that talking gets difficult. For short bursts, even 30 seconds up a hill, repeat it a few times. That's the exact stimulus that rebuilds the engine. Now, the next sign isn't about strength or breath. It's about something growing where it shouldn't be. Sign number 3. Your waist is expanding, even when the scale isn't moving much. This is the sign men miss most, because they're watching the wrong number. They step on the scale, see it's roughly the same as last year, and relax. But the scale can't tell you what kind of weight you're carrying. And there's one kind that's a direct marker of accelerated aging. It's called visceral fat, the deep fat that wraps around your organs behind the abdominal wall. It's not the soft stuff you can pinch. It's firm, deep, and it pushes the belly out from the inside. Here's what makes it dangerous rather than just unflattering. Visceral fat isn't passive storage. It's metabolically active, constantly pumping out inflammatory signals that drive up that body-wide, low-grade inflammation, now considered one of the engines of aging itself, and it feeds on itself. In men specifically, research shows abdominal fat is linked to a faster loss of muscle strength over time, so sign 3 actively makes sign 1 worse. The fat accelerates the muscle loss slows your metabolism, and the belly grows further. A loop, tightening. Forget the scale for this one. Here's the test that actually matters. Take a tape measure, find your waist at the belly button, and compare it to your height. Your waist should be less than half your height. A 6-foot man, that's 72 inches, wants his waist under 36. If you're creeping past that line, the scale's opinion doesn't matter. The tape is telling the truth. Quick win. Visceral fat is the first fat to respond to the basics, cutting sugar and refined carbs, walking after meals, and the strength training we already talked about. It comes off deep storage before it comes off your face. Your body will reward this one fast. The next sign happens while you're unconscious, which is exactly why it's so easy to ignore. Sign number 4. Your sleep has quietly gotten shallower and more broken. Somewhere along the way, most men accept bad sleep as a normal part of getting older. Waking at 3 a.m. tossing for an hour, never feeling truly rested. They treat it as a personality trait. It's not. It's a sign and a cause. Here's the part that should get your attention. Chronic poor sleep doesn't just leave you tired. It's been directly linked to acceleration of that epigenetic clock, the molecular measure of biological age. In other words, bad sleep doesn't just feel like aging. It measurably speeds it up. And it makes sense when you remember what sleep is for. The deep stage early in the night is when your body releases the bulk of its repair hormones, and when your brain runs its own cleaning cycle, clearing out waste. Skip that, night after night, and you're skipping your single biggest nightly repair window, and the damage compounds. There's a cruel loop here too. The visceral fat from sign 3 worsens sleep. Poor sleep raises stress hormones and cravings, which adds more visceral fat. Round and round. Almost none of these 5 signs stand alone, they feed each other, which is exactly why catching them early matters so much. Your test for this one is honest reflection, not a stopwatch. Do you wake rested or already tired? Do you sleep through or surface several times a night? Do you need caffeine just to reach a baseline of human? A body aging well sleeps deep and wakes restored. A body aging fast never quite gets there. Quick win. The highest leverage fixes are dull and they work. A cool, dark room, a consistent sleep and wake time within about 30 minutes every day, and no heavy food or alcohol in the last 2 to 3 hours before bed. Protect the deep stage, and you protect the repair. The 5th sign is the quietest of all, because you can't feel it happening at all. Sign number 5. Your body is losing control of its blood sugar, and you'd never know. This is the most invisible sign on the list, and arguably the most important, because it can run in the background for years with 0 symptoms while it ages you from the inside. As the body's handling of sugar starts to slip, long before anything a doctor would call diabetes, sugar lingers in your blood longer than it should. And lingering sugar does something genuinely damaging. It sticks to proteins throughout your body in a process called glycation, stiffening tissues that are supposed to stay flexible. Researchers sometimes describe it as your insides slowly caramelizing. That stiffening shows up in your arteries, your skin, your organs. It is aging, made literal. You can't feel rising blood sugar directly, but it leaves fingerprints, the energy crash an hour or two after a carb-heavy meal, the afternoon slump that drives you to sugar or caffeine just to function, stubborn fat settling right at the midsection, tying back, again, to sign 3, a constant low-grade thirst. These are the smoke. The fire is a metabolism starting to lose its grip. Here's a simple self-check. No needle required. After a big plate of pasta or rice, what happens 60 to 90 minutes later? If you're hit with a wave of fatigue, brain fog, or a sudden need to eat again, that's your body struggling to clear the sugar smoothly. A metabolism aging well handles that meal and stays steady. One aging fast spikes and crashes. Quick win. 2 of the most effective tools are almost absurdly simple. Take a 10 to 15-minute walk after your largest meal. Moving muscle pulls sugar out of the blood without needing much insulin. And put protein and vegetables before the starch on your plate. Same food, far gentler rise. So there are your 5. A weakening grip, breath that runs out too fast, a waist expanding past the line, sleep that no longer restores, and a metabolism quietly losing its hold on sugar. 5 signs, no appointment required, and you just checked yourself on everyone. Here's the truth that ties them together. And it's the most important thing I'll say in this whole video. Did you notice how they kept feeding each other? Visceral fat eats your muscle. Lost muscle wrecks your metabolism. A struggling metabolism ruins your sleep. Bad sleep adds more fat. They are not 5 separate problems. They're one system either spiraling down, or, if you grab even one of them, spiraling back up. Fix your strength, and your sugar improves. Fix your sleep, and your waist follows. Pull one thread in the right direction, and the whole web moves with it. That's why this isn't a verdict. It's a starting line. So tell me in the comments, honestly, how many of the 5 you recognized in yourself? 1, 3, all 5? Be real about it. I read these, and there's something powerful about a room full of men admitting the same thing out loud and deciding to do something about it. And if this gave you a clearer picture of where your body actually stands, if you understood yourself a little better in the last 11 minutes, hit the like button. It's the one thing that pushes this in front of the next man who's been explaining away his own warning signs. Because the men who stay strong and sharp into their later years aren't the lucky ones. They're the ones who learned to read the signals early and moved while the moving was still easy. You just learned to read them. The rest is up to you.